Hello, lovely people. This is Zaria here. I'm sorry I'm a couple of minutes late. I forget all the things that I had to do. I had to set up the other computer, so my son and I have been dashing around getting it ready. Phew! It's very good to be here. And I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I'm just going to quickly start working, and then later on in the day I'll have a break. I'll make my hair all curly. And I've worked solidly from this morning until now. I stopped for lunch. So you're just going to have to tolerate me with greasy hair. But it was more important to get everything done for tonight than look, with all pretty hair. So maybe tomorrow you'll have me looking pretty. Today is all about boundaries. How are you? Just do that for a second. Just do this with me for a second. And feel how it feels in your body. Does it feel like you want to squirm away? Does it feel really weird? If you're with people and you feel shy, you can just do it with your hands down here or down here, by your knees or whatever. But I'm trying to do it so you can see it in the screen. Maybe you can do it up here. What does it feel like to feel this no in your body? Because maybe you might feel like squirmy or quiet and it's too scary. What does it feel like to really set strong boundaries? I really struggled with boundaries. I allowed people to walk all over me. I think I mentioned to you that somebody, my flatmate once said to me, why don't you lie on the floor? And I was like, what, why? And he said, because I'd like to wipe my feet on you. And I'm like, what? And he said, no, you're a doormat. You let everybody walk over you. It's like, whew. It really ignited a fire in me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like that. Has anybody ever told you you're a doormat? Have you ever noticed you're a doormat? Have you ever noticed you people please other people and forget about yourself? Oh, well, that's what we're here for. We're here. Lucy's in a car park doing it in the car park. It's a nice feeling. When I first did it, I'll tell you about it a bit later, it was really hard for me. It was not something that my body was used to. We'll look at that today. All right. So again, when I look sideways, I'm having to look at I wonder if I can get it a bit closer because my eyesight is not that great. All right. Okay. So I just want to remind you that if you post while I'm here, I need to actually get that other one up. If you post while I am online, then everybody can see it. If you want to post in a private place, so this is shareable. So if anybody thinks, hey, I've got a friend who struggles with boundaries, you can just forward this and share. You can't share from Home for Restoring Love, but you can click on zarialufu.com/W3 and you'll be able to share this link. But if you want okay, I've just got up the question thread so that if people post on here, I'll have to remember to scroll up because I'm just going to be on one thing. The link I sent is saying I haven't started the video. Oh, nice to see you, Robin and Alicia. So that's so weird. I wonder, can somebody else check it for me? Is it working now? So Robin, did you manage to get in or how did you try? Okay, that's a bit frustrating. So I could try it here quickly on this one. I don't want anybody to be left behind. That's so weird. I did try it yesterday and it was working. So, shit. Okay. Nope. I am gonna my VA was meant to change this for me and he didn't. Bugger. All right, So you're just going to hear me quickly wake him up in the Philippines because nobody can get on the call. He's just been awake, so I'm not really waking him up. Hey Keith, the link for tonight has not changed, so I've just started the call and nobody's able to find the link. Yeah, so I'm on the call. Some people have found it, but if you could do that, that would be fab. Thanks. Okay, cheers. Okay, thanks. Now somebody's calling me. Can you answer my phone, please, babe? my son's going, oh my God, Mom. Okay. All right. It's all happening. It's all going on. All right. So I'm just going to get the link. Found it, but if you could do that, that would be fab. Okay, I found the link. I'm going to send it to Keith so that he can send it on. Gosh, today is crazy.
There's just someone telling you that I wasn't working.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. Whoever you are who's letting me know it's not working. Phew. Thank you, lovely people. Oh, okay. All right, Robin, that makes sense. Hello, everyone. I'm glad that, okay, great. So Alicia's shared the link up there very soon that the link that, so Alicia or Janet, do you think you could share the link in Home for Restoring Love so that people could see it there? It doesn't matter if a few people do it, just to let everybody know. I appreciate you all. Okay. Okay, yeah, I can imagine they're trying. So very soon, the link in the email should work. That's very disappointing. Anyway, I can see a few people have gone. Life happens. Hopefully they'll see the replay if they've gone permanently. Do you like my funny little hair? Oh, you see, this StreamYard thing is backwards, but look at this funny little hair that's sticking out. It's kind of like I'm growing horns or something, or it's got like an antenna that's on one side of my head. Okay, so is that link working yet? Keith's pretty quick, but he probably was in bed, so he's probably gonna have to get out of bed and fix it up. Okay, so he says that he's done it, and it should be, if you refresh the page, it should be working. Let me test it. This is a bit of a pain. All right. Nope. Let me just tell him it's still going to the early bird page. That's so frustrating. Oh man, I don't like it when things don't work. The other thing is that there's that let me just tell him. So going to early bird. I don't know what to do. Do I just go on? Do I just go on with everything? So just give me a second, because I think it's worthwhile for us to get this right. I'm going to turn off my thing and then see. Hopefully we can get this working, because this is a bit of a pain. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay. Oh, great. I'm glad. Oh, great. All right. It's working now. All right, everybody. I apologize for that. I can feel my back is a bit tense now. Okay. Let's go. All right. Now I have to remember. I have to find the thing that I need. Let's see. Boundaries. That's it. Okay. My phone is too far away. So whoever the sweetheart is who's texting me to say it's working or not, I can't get to my phone. Okay, so let's go over to, firstly, thank you to everybody who's been helping and sharing. I appreciate you. Now I'm going to click present. There we go. Boundaries bring blessings. Creating honoring relationships and saying yes to you. You know, it is not easy when we've grown up in challenging environments to know how to set boundaries, and we're going to look at why. Let's go on a little journey together, shall we? Okay, so contents. We're going to look for the mission that we're wanting to grow into. What's happened in our boundaries that make it hard for us to set them in our lives, in the world? And what's your boundary compass? We're going to look at the range of boundary setting. What it takes to set boundaries within us. What do we need to be able to do that, so that you know the skills that you can grow to be able to do them? And then how do you open ears so that people's listening is open to you setting boundaries with them? Then the story of Julia and her raging boss. Then an insight into different types of boundaries we need to set, and steps into setting a healthy boundary. Julia on her headphones. And then I'm going to give you some work to do. And of course, I'm going to share the contest. So, and then I'll see if the questions that you need answering. Pretty simple, huh? Right. So let's go. Okay. The mission is to come home to you. Now, this is a sort of saying that I have in my Restore group, coming home to you. So often, if we've brought up in toxic environments where we were ignored, or there was somebody who was abusive or addictive, we had to meet their needs, and we didn't have any sense of ourselves or who we are. We got to come home to us to know who we are, so we can go, this doesn't work for me. This is what I need. So it's essential to come home to us. So maybe right now you can just practice it with me. I need to come home to me after this flurry of computers and links and okay. Just take a deep breath all the way to your toes and breathe out. I want you to do it 3 times. Breathe in all the way to your toes and breathe out. Boundaries say yes to you. Breathe in a big yes to you. Feel your whole body sparkling with a yes. Yes to me. And breathe out all that is not for you. Our mission is to create connected, attuned, nourishing, honoring relationships. We don't want any shit in our lives. We want genuine, authentic connections that make us feel good. And anything less, we can say no to. We can do the hard things, as Glennon Doyle says. All right. So let's check at the different things that where we got this boundary programming from, that our boundaries, where our boundaries might have been violated, that taught us, that didn't teach us how to set boundaries in a healthy way. Firstly, cultures. Like there's some cultures you can see in Home for Restoring Love and everywhere. There's some cultures that just don't have any boundaries. And there is just an expectation that you will let go of yourself and serve other people. Somebody was sharing the other day who's from an Indian culture, and there is just an expectation. You leave your family, you go and live with your in-laws, you do whatever you say, you don't have any sense of space or self. It's exceptionally hard to set boundaries in a culture like that. Then religion. There's a sense of, Christian, Muslim, most religions, sense of service without any sense of self, without an honoring of who you are. There's an expectation, like women will just serve. A man can do whatever he likes. A woman just has to do what he wants. And there isn't a sense of, what do I need? What matters to me? In toxic religion. And then there's patriarchy, which, is horrendous, of how women's needs and rights were just violated without any care at all. Then there's racism. You think of, from slave times to now, things have not necessarily changed. People are free, but people are not paid as well. And the boundary setting from Black people, I remember in South Africa, in apartheid, I remember the lady who worked with us silencing herself to acquiesce things around her, even when her needs weren't met. And I would take her hand and I would say to her, it's not okay. It's not okay. She would just cry and I would just wipe her tears. And I would say to my mom, that's not okay. But there was a culture of racism. And there is still to this day, where it's scary for Black people to stand up and say, I don't like how you're treating me. I don't like this racism, because they might lose their job. They might get more severely attacked. So setting a boundary in the face of racism is extremely hard. And I was chatting with a Black friend today who courageously this week stood up, and I was cheering her on and echoing her voice where she was being blanked and silenced. And I came in behind her and said, we really need to listen to you. And thankfully, the person turned around and said, okay, I got it wrong. I would like to listen to her. But unless we support each other to stand up and set boundaries, and teach each other to honor each other's boundaries, the racism will continue. We need to be anti-racist to end that violation. Then family structures, frequently for younger children. I am one of them. Hands up, any youngest around? I used to just feel so controlled that I had to do what other people said, and if not, I would just get hit. So I didn't have a sense of self. I had a sense of merging, enmeshment with everybody else, that I had to do what they said. Otherwise, I would get hurt. Then there's peer pressure. You have a sense of no, but you might get drunk, or you might do things that even now might go to a party that you don't really want to go to because your friends want you there. And you don't have that boundary, that sense of self that goes, no thanks. And there's bullying that just that you can have not only in childhood, but in adulthood. Online bullying, that is horrendous. That unless you have that boundary and say, this is not okay, it can perpetuate. Then obviously abuse in childhood, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional, mental. When you've been abused and it's flooded onto you, either as an adult, you flood other people, or you just are crushed that it's hard to communicate or connect with anybody at all. Then if parents have had mental illness, where they're bipolar and they don't know that they are violating your boundaries, they aren't in a conscious state to be able to do that. Then it programs you that you have to give to others and not look after your own sense of self. And of course, attachment styles. So if you had parents who had secure attachment, then that would be good, because they would know this is my boundary and they would honor it. But if you had somebody who was avoidant, they'd say, I don't care about what you think. This is what I'm going to do anyway. If you had somebody anxious, they would go, but I need you, and I don't care about your boundaries because I need it more than you. I need this, whatever it is, your attention, your love more than you, and I'm not going to honor your boundaries. And then there's complex attachment, which would go, I'm not going to look after your boundaries. Wow, you've come across my boundaries. So there's this very complex state where you don't know what's coming. And that's really, really hard to be with, because then there's a fear of setting boundaries because you might get attacked. So I'm curious, all of that, what violation has been for you the thing that struck you the most out of all of these that have impacted your capacity to set boundaries in the world or to honor other people's boundaries? Because both of those are important. And we need to be able to do both of those. Set healthy boundaries and honor healthy boundaries. All right. Lucy got 8 of them. That is a lot, Lucy. Okay. Right. So this is your boundary compass. I just made this up. I spent far too long on this, if I'm honest, trying to find the right words. Okay. So these are the extremes on the compass. One extreme is, so have a look on where, I was looking at the political compass of where you might be on your political compass, but this is more like, where are you on your boundary compass? Are you somebody who just, let's take first how you set boundaries. Are you more like just flooding, this is what has to happen, or fearing, I'm too scared to say anything, so anybody can do anything to me, or rigid, this is how it is, and I will not budge, or insipid, like kind of wishy-washy. I don't know what I want right now because I don't really know myself, and whatever, I don't really care. So have a look, where are you? Are you more towards rigid or wishy-washy, insipid, or more towards flooding people, or like fearing that you might get it wrong or it won't go right when you set them? And what about honoring of other people's boundaries? Do you not care and you will just flood them and not honor them? Or are you really scared so you do whatever they want? Or you kind of wishy-washy and you're not really bothered about other people's boundaries and you just do whatever? Or you're rigid. You'll always follow what they say because that's the authority. So have a look and see, where are you in either of those? Okay. Right. I was just playing with this and going, in certain situations, we adopt different things because that's what we've had to do to function. And so in any of this, in all of this work, somebody said that after the first call, they felt a bit ashamed of themselves because they realized that they didn't always treat their kids with sort of proactive, constructive love. And so now they're feeling bad about themselves. I was like, no, the purpose of this is to go, I can see where I can grow and I can be loving to myself, that I was not taught this in childhood, so I didn't know. Now I know I can learn the steps. Now I know I can break the cycle. But I can't shame and make myself wrong for something I didn't know because I didn't know it. So now, as we learn it, we can do better. Like, there are things that I, this year, woke up with my son and I turned around and I went, oh my God, I didn't realize this. I got that so wrong. And he's like, oh, Mom, you've got many other things right. It's all fine. But I felt really bad. I was in tears. And he was like, it really doesn't matter. I knew you loved me. So he didn't necessarily think it was hugely wrong then. All right. So let's have a look at what it takes to set your boundaries. Oh, you see, I was preempting that. None of this is your fault. You've always deserved. That needed a D, didn't it? You always deserved secure, attached love. So what do you need? You need worth. I matter, I'm valuable, and this is what I need. You need strength, because you have to find that strength in yourself to go, I guess it's a bit of courage, hey? To go, this is important to me. This matters to my heart, and I've got the strength and courage to go, this is what my boundary is. This is the line. You have to have a sense of self, like, who am I and what's important to me? What do I love? What do I need? What honors me? What doesn't honor me? You have to know your energy and know your limits. Like, for instance, if somebody goes, hey, let's go out tonight, and you have got a busy day, to know, I don't think after my busy day I'm going to have enough energy. Have you heard of the concept of spoons? Like, you have 5 spoons in the day, and those are your spoons of energy. And once you've used up your spoons, you've got no more spoons to do anything. And that's kind of like that. Of once you've got no more spoons, you don't keep giving or doing things, because you'll get completely depleted. So you really want to honor that your energy, because otherwise you can't function. All right. So next one is your communication ability. You have to be able to do that. And we're going to look at this tonight. So don't panic and go, oh my God, these are so many things. These are things, but each one of them is just a skill. And each skill can be broken down into little bits. And so then you can go, okay, these are the little bits I'm going to work on. I can't do everything. I can only do one thing at a time. And it's this that matters right now. And that's all I can focus on right now, because otherwise I'll get overwhelmed and immobilized and I can't do anything. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Out of this whole workshop, the thing that matters most is you being your own best friend through it all. Then your connection in the relationship. If there's no connection, then you're talking at somebody rather than with them. And when you're talking at somebody, they'll feel attacked, they'll get defensive, they'll get rude. They really don't care about what you've got to say. When you've got connection, you matter to them and they listen more. Okay. Then you need an appropriate response to different people. Like, you'll set a boundary differently to somebody online who you love to somebody online who is some random troll who's attacking you. You'll set a boundary differently to a child who's 2 than a teenager. There needs to be an appropriateness to who you're speaking to. And you also need wellness. The challenge with people who have had abuse in childhood is that frequently there's higher levels of immune dysfunction, diabetes, heart disease, cancers, addictions. And when any of those are going on, you've got brain fog, exhaustion, and it's really hard to set boundaries. Like, I can't have people visiting me, or I can only get texts, not calls, because you don't necessarily have that clarity. So that's hard. And when that is like that, we need compassion for ourselves rather than making ourselves wrong that we can't set the boundary. We need to take action. So we can't just kind of wait and wish someone might do it for us. We've got to actually take the action to do it. We've got to have, when I started the call, we've got to have an embodied no. So we're not going, could you do this, please? We have to have a sense of our body of, this is, this strength. My son's come in and has decided to get an ice lolly. That was the sound. And the next one is an alignment with words and actions. Like, if you're saying, you're welcome to come in with your head, with the door shut around you, then your actions and your words aren't aligned. You can see that sort of fake smiley face, but your boundaries going, no, I can't do this. You need to be aligned between the two of them. Then institutional support. So if you look at these, I'll just show you, because this is in everything that I look at, because I have a master's in integral theory. So these are the quadrants. This is your inner relationship to yourself. Maybe if I do it like this. This is your inner relationship to yourself. I wonder where I can, maybe this one works. Your inner relationship to yourself, the actions that you take yourself, your connection in relationship, and then the systems, the institutional is the systems in the world. So you need institutional support. For people who, like, for instance, if you get fired from a job, to have a union, who goes, no, you haven't been treated well. You need that backup. You need the education to know that your rights are not being met in this situation, for where it's maybe a work incident. Like I was talking to a Black person last night who shared that she was getting racist attacks, and she confronted her boss and he denied it, but she could go to the union and she got a payout. What happened to her was horrendous, but she was educated enough to know her human rights, and she got backup. So in situations where people don't honor your boundaries, you need to have that sense of self to know this is not okay, and I will get support for myself because I'm not going to tolerate being treated like that. Then financial capacity, which is hard because not everybody has that, to be able to, if we're just following that same theme of racism in the workplace, if somebody is crossing a Black person's boundary in the workplace, and it's a place that's abusive, but they can't stand up because they might lose their job, they don't have the capacity to set the boundary, because they'll lose their job and they can't function for their families. I don't know if you follow Humans of New York. There was a story on that yesterday where there was a guy working for a hotel, and the boss told him he used him and didn't treat him well. And the guy couldn't do anything about it, and then got fired and locked down and has nothing. So in those situations, having boundaries is extremely hard, and then legal support to be able to deal with issues of boundaries in workplaces. All right, so let's go on. And maybe just before we go on, you can have a think. What is one thing that you need to work on to grow your capacity to set boundaries? Just one thing. Share one thing in the comments. We've only got mixed ones, Janet, rainbow ones at the moment. All right. So now a completely contrasting thing, because I always like to give you a practice to do. The practice is this. John Gottman shared that in relationships, any relationships, if you were constantly criticizing and putting somebody down on a ratio of anything less than this, the relationship wouldn't last 5 years. So you need 5 positives to 1 negative. And if you have just been criticizing somebody and then set a boundary with them, you haven't earned their listening. Like I see that with my son at the moment, where I'm kind of stressed, working 14-hour days, and I said, oh my God, quick, come and do this. You need to be quiet. He's like, oh God, because I haven't given him enough love and attention today. He can, tomorrow I will. But then he's a bit more grouchy with me because I haven't filled up his ears. I haven't filled up his whole love tank with goodness and love and care. We'll talk about love tanks later. But if you fill up somebody's love tank and then you set a boundary, they're way more likely to honor it. And you can start this with yourself every day. Notice in your head how much time you're criticizing yourself, and then you set a boundary with yourself, and your inner voice is like, fuck you, I'm not doing what she said because she's been horrible to me. And you have this little conversation going on your head of, you should do this now. No, I'm not doing that, because you haven't filled up inside of yourself enough love to have this responsive, engaging relationship with you. So you need that with yourself and with the ones that you love around you, of really boosting the connection. And it's not just like, oh, I think your hair is pretty. It's, I really saw strength in you today when you did this. Or, wow, it's such a relief. No, not a relief. It's such a joy to walk into this beautiful, clean kitchen. I appreciate the time and effort you've put in, it just makes me feel like I'm sighing and feel so good inside. Just that one sentence had 5 positives. So once you've done that a few times, to be able to set a boundary, people feel like you really love them. Otherwise, they feel criticized by your boundaries. Okay, great. So let's go to the story of Julia. I love this picture. And when I sent it to Julia, she said, "Oh my God." What was her words? It's kind of like him. There's a likeness to my boss and him. So when Julia was growing up, she had parents who got her in the middle, and so didn't honor her boundary. And so she got into this workplace where that would happen, where the boss would get her involved in issues that didn't belong to her, and she would say no, and he would just come and rage at her for not honoring her, or for not jumping and jumping when he clicked, or not being his go-between for things. So when she started this work, she would try to pacify him for her life to be easy. And through doing this work, she learned to set boundaries with him and set strategies in the workplace where she was honored. For instance, there were a lot of younger people working in the office, and they would just make a mess. So she designed a rota so that people took turns rather than her always doing it. So there were so many things that over time, as she identified, this isn't working for me anymore, I'm going to set a boundary here. This is what is okay for me. So she was able to say, it's not okay that you shot at me. I'm not taking that in my workplace. I expect you to be honorable and kind. And if you shout at me, I'm going to leave the room. And that's what she learned to do. And it was hard because it was going against the programming that she had. But over the work with me, she got to do that. And then finally, I'm so proud of Julia. She left her work. She said she didn't want to be around that anymore. And she found a place where people value her and honor her. So if you're in a toxic work environment, I want you to know you can shift it like Julia. And you can find a place where you're honored and loved and received. All right. So let's go into the insight of boundaries. So boundaries is just a simple, I'm drawing the line. Drawing a line of how people treat me. This is what is okay for me on this side, and on that side, that I don't tolerate anything. It's just a line. And I wonder if you draw it so it's so invisible and you wish they could see it, or it's deep, or it's in concrete. What sort of lines do you draw? Then there's a boundary that you need to set on yourself and on others, which is why we have the rule in Home for Restoring Love of only empathy and not advice. Who can guess what the boundary is that we are setting through saying empathize and don't advise? Maybe I should tell you, just because we've started late and we've got so much to share. The boundary is you can't fix anyone. So when you're setting a boundary, you're setting on behavior, knowing you can't fix or change anybody else. So I can't change you. I can only honor myself by setting a boundary. Your behavior might not change, and if so, I'll walk away, but I can't change or fix you. So we have to remember that. For some of us, I know when my kid's dad was challenging, and I took my kids to see a therapist, and they said to him, he said to them, why do you want to see your dad? And both of them, they were not seen at the same time. Both of them said, I want to see him because I want to teach him how to be loving. I want to change him so that he's a nice dad, a good dad. And the therapist said, but you can't change anyone. Your mom's changed and tried for years and it hasn't worked. Why do you think that you as a child can change him? And they both went, oh, if I can't change him, I don't want to see him. So there at 7 and 11, my kids set a boundary going, oh, I can't fix anyone. If they can't change and they won't honor what I need, then I can't see them. But you can't fix somebody. And then the other thing is that you can't just have all the thoughts of your boundaries in your head and expect other people to know what they are. You actually have to share what they are, because most people aren't psychic and they're not mind readers. So you have to be able to share what you're feeling and what you need. Just simple skills. They're not easy to learn if you don't know them, but they're just skills of knowing what you feel and knowing what you need and expressing it. The issue comes in when we have complex attachment and we expect people to guess, and if they don't, we get angry. And that's toxic relating. We have to know what we're feeling or, hey, I don't know what I'm feeling, but this is not feeling right for me. Can we help identify what my boundary is? Because I'm not feeling comfortable here. That would be okay. You might not know what's going on, but you just feel icky inside to express that and say, this is not feeling comfortable. I'm not sure what boundary is coming up, but there's something here for me. All right. So what we want is to have boundaries that we can honor ourselves and other people. So we're going to look at 3 different types of boundaries. What I'm thinking is I'm going to go through the whole workshop and then I'm going to read through, because oh, Janet, you make me laugh. Janet said he looked like a fuckwit, and Julia's favorite word, or one of her favorite words, is fuckwit. So probably I'm not the sort of person to work with if you vary somebody who doesn't like any swearing, because every now and again I do swear, and some people in the workshop, in the program, do swear. So just saying. All right, so there are 3 things that we're going to look at in boundary setting. One is like that instantaneous thing, like maybe on Facebook where somebody is being rude, of how to set when you're being violated by somebody, or you see somebody else being violated. Then honoring, like an honoring boundary with somebody who loves you, is a very different strategy to just a quick place where you violated. And then there's more complex, iffy ones where there's a persistent issue with somebody who's toxic. Each of these require a very different boundary setting. So let's look at that first one, an assertive boundary when you violate it. It needs to just be really clear and concise. I don't like being treated like this. I'm blocking you. You know, if it's a troll who you don't know and you don't care about, and they just, like we had that the other night on the call, and there was some on the Q&A call, and some creepy guy. But I couldn't block him. I didn't know how to block him from this system. But as soon as I got off the call, I blocked and banned him on everything I could. It's just really clear. I'm not tolerating being treated badly. I don't need to engage with it. If somebody is being toxic and they've let you know that they're going to insult you, they're going to call you names, they're going to treat you with no regard, they've let you know that they don't have respect for you and they don't honor you. So it's just really clear and concise, strong and bold. This is how it is. And I'm blocking you. So it's really clear. It doesn't, it's not wishy-washy at all. It's really simple of what you need and what's happening. And to do this, you need inner strength, like an inner fighting. Somebody said that I was fearless, and I don't feel fearless at all. I feel really scared setting boundaries sometimes. It was fascinating. You know, when I did the exercise of what do people like and value about me, 2 or 3 people said fearless. I was like, fearless? My God, no, I have got so much fear. But my inner strength is bigger than the fear. and I won't tolerate people being treated like shit. And so if I see it, I will be clear and concise and say, hey, this is not okay. So I am known, and people will send me little links to things going, hey, can you come and help here? Because I'm not being heard. And I'll go in and I'll say, are you not aware that you're being racist right now? This is not acceptable. Check your white privilege. And I will be really firm. They don't deserve to be treated like this. And then I will get attacked and I can ignore it, but I don't want my friends being attacked. So I will make sure I stand up for them and I be their voice. So sometimes if we have this big fear, I will be red in the face, hands clammy, heart beating, but that strength inside of me of going, I won't have people around me being violated. It's not going to happen. Or I will say, I'm just wondering if you realize what you're doing is being emotionally abusive. And I'll send them a link to emotional abuse. This is not acceptable. So I'm really clear, this needs to stop now. And it's similar in my group. If people are being abusive or racist or sexist or imposing religion, I just delete them. I block them from the group. I only want people in my spaces that are loving and healthy, and in that there's flexibility because people are learning how to be healthy, but there are things that I won't tolerate. And racism is one. Being rude and violating is another. I just won't have it. All right. My daughter is in the bath and we have one bathroom and my son wants to go in the bathroom. And so I can just hear him shouting. I think he might have forgotten that we're on that I'm doing a live video. So Osana says, I'm worried about crossing boundaries with new people. You can ask, you can share, what's your boundary here? So that you know. And there's some people who really find it hard to share what the boundary is. Like there's some tricky characters who I'll know, I can feel they're tricky. So I'll say, hey, I just need to know what's expected of me when I come to your party or whatever, because I've got a feeling that you have unwritten rules about certain things. And this was one example. And he said, no, I don't have any. And then I went to the party and he came and he said, I'm really disappointed in you. And I said, oh, was there a rule that I broke? Because I asked you if there were any rules. And he said, I expected you to be more fun and dance more. And I was like, oh no, I really love intimate conversations. I talk to one person, one at a time. I'm like, so he was disappointed, never got invited to that party again. Hi, Stacey, nice to see you. All right, so let's look at an issue with somebody who loves you. So let's set the context. What's the word? I'm tired. Words are struggling. Context, that's the word. Maybe somebody can give me an example of a boundary with somebody that loves you. I could give you an example. No, okay, let me think. I'm trying to think of something. Gosh, my brain is not working. Let's go and see. Let me try and think. Okay, so I'll give you a really simple one. At the moment, because I'm running this workshop and working like 14-hour days, and I get to things like today and realize, oh my God, I'm like a day behind of the stuff that I should have done. So I just have to work extra. And every time I get off a call like this, my daughter's written a list of things to do. But once the call's finished, I have to download the call, I have to upload it to YouTube, I have to send the links, I have to send an email out. So that's about 2 hours work that I've got after that. And my head is full with all the things that I'm juggling and holding together. So when she comes and says, Mum, and she literally has got a list of everything that she's been watching. And both my kids somehow want to talk to me at 11 o'clock at night. The rest of the day, when I'm more available, no, it's only when I'm shattered. And so she will come and I'll say, sweetheart, I need you to know how much I love you. And at the moment, your words are not hitting into my head because I can't hear you. So I wonder if it's possible, if we can please speak once I've done this little bit of work, and then I'll be able to listen to you fully and beautifully. And she's like, but it's just a little bit. And I'm like, I can't hear any of it because my head's just too full. So would you not rather have a healthy listener who can really absorb and respond right? Oh, I guess so. I love you very much, and I'd just like to be able to give you the best love that I can, and I can't give that to you right now. So that's an example of setting a boundary. I can't talk right now because I'm working, but in a way that leaves somebody loved. So let's check. First, like if you walk up to somebody and go, I need to talk to you, they'll be, if somebody tries to talk to me while I'm in the middle of working, it takes me quite a while to get back into work. So I would far rather they say, is now a good time to talk? Because if I'm in the middle of something and got a deadline, I'm not going to be as patient and loving as I'd like to. So you need to check, are they accessible to hear? What you also want to talk about is it's about an issue rather than a personality trait or them personally. So that you're setting a boundary around something, not them, not rejecting a person. So like that with my daughter, the issue is that I've got all these thoughts in my head, not you are interrupting me. Can't you see that I'm busy? That would set the boundary, but it would crush her. That's not what we want. We want love to trump. We want love to be the highest value, or I do. It might not be your highest value, but that certainly is for me. So I want her to feel loved. And of course, I'm going to get it wrong in times that I haven't slept or I'm upset by something. Then I might be a bit more rash and I can say, I got that wrong. Can we have a do-over? I was too harsh and I didn't like how I sounded. My tone of voice was awful. Can we redo it? Just give me 5 minutes to collect myself and I'm going to come back and redo that boundary because that was awful. So you want to talk about an issue rather than say, you do this, I don't like it, change it. Because that will just create defense and reaction. And then you want to resolve it together. Like, how can we do this? So if I was being more conscious, I would say to my kids, I want to make sure in every day through this whole launch that I give you some love. How can we do it so it's not at night, just as I'm going to sleep, and it's not straight after a call when I've got a lot to do? But when can we find the time so that you feel loved and I give you my full attention? What could we do differently? So you resolve it together rather than just going, this is how it is and I'm not tolerating it. It's more a thing of, we are a team in this relationship. And together we can resolve anything. Together, us against an issue is two minds and two hearts wanting to conquer the world and create more goodness together. And then there's more energy and vitality to it. If it's, you're wrong, this is how it is, you lose the love and the connection. So you don't want to do that. You want to be engaging and responsive to each other. And to do that, you need to be curious and empathetic to the other person as well as to yourself. And then sharing what the need is underneath in a clear way and saying, together, can we find a way to work through this? And it doesn't need to take 5 hours. It can take 5 minutes. Or it can take 5 minutes of saying, this is the issue. Let's both think about it and come back later in a few hours to come up with a solution together. And that way it's honoring. That way it's creating a solution together so you both feel met and resolving it together. All right. And yes, Sana, I have used this with my kids since they were tiny. So, I started running Siblings Without Rivalry courses when my daughter was 3 and my son was 0. He was just a tiny baby. He was a couple of months or 5, 6 months when I started running Siblings Without Rivalry courses. And one of the exercises in Sibling Without Rivalry courses is sitting and creating a solution together. So from me breastfeeding, the week before I had my son, I read Siblings Without Rivalry. And there's this excellent chapter about resolving things together, where you all sit down and you say, right, this is the issue. What are the different the solutions we can create together? And let's pick the best as a team. And so that's what I've done all the way through. And it just means that I am not being a dogmatic authoritarian. Because what I found for myself is that when I've dated guys who had very authoritarian parents, they were too scared to make decisions. Because if they made a decision, got it wrong, they'd get into trouble, or the parents made decisions for them and they had to just go along. So they had a lot of resistance and anger to them. So if ever I made a decision, like a friend was coming, I would get this, oh, and if ever I said, well, make a decision, there was a lot of fear. So I just vowed I was not going to do that to my kids. I want to teach them how to make healthy decisions for themselves. And in order to do that, we have to create a safe environment and connection between us, and then share issues that they're able to resolve so that they feel empowered. All right. So was that helpful? And what are the bits in that you feel, oh God, that's what I need to work on? Where is the bit that, like, maybe you just tell somebody a boundary quickly and you notice they're not listening and accessible, so they don't hear it and then they don't honor it? Or maybe it's that you make it personal rather than be curious and work together about an issue. Or maybe you impose it rather than resolve together. What is the thing that for you might want to work on? Let me just check if there's anybody who's responding in this other in the other group, in case anybody is sharing there. Okay. It's taking a while. So, okay. No, it looks all right. Great. Okay, so let's go and see. Then complex boundary setting. We see this a lot in Home for Restoring Love. For those of you who are watching and don't know what Home for Restoring Love is, it is my free group on Facebook that is for people who have had abuse or toxic parents or felt unloved in childhood. And it's a place to grow empathy and understanding and unravel together. So let's see what people have said. Lucy said she needs to work on not making it personal. Stacey says she imposes rather than resolves. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Stacey gave the example of her mom constantly texting to see how she was, and it was well-intended and a lot. Okay, so Stacey, that's a fab. I'm just going to go back to this quickly. That's a fab example. Thank you. Okay, so accessible. Hey, Mum, I'm just calling because I'd like us to have a chat about something. When is a good time that you're available to have a chat about something? There's something that I think together we can resolve. And I'd really like your help with this, please. Well, I'm not like in a good space now. Maybe the weekend, 11 o'clock on Sunday. Great. Then you've got time to be able to think about what you really want resolved in it. Then it comes to it and you can say, Mom, I know how much you love me. I know how much you care. And I don't know what it is about me, but sometimes when people text a lot, it feels weird inside for me, and I don't know why it is. And I'm guessing that you are texting because you love me and you just want to know how I am and have a connection. but I don't really enjoy texting that much. It just sort of like distracts me in the moment, and then I can't think again. And I know you wouldn't want that for me. So I'm wondering how we can resolve this together, because I know you're doing it because you want connection and love, but it doesn't make me feel close and connected to you, because then I'm working and it becomes a distraction, and I don't ever want you to feel like a distraction. So how can we resolve this so you get your needs met to connect, and I get my needs met to be able to focus for long periods on the work that I'm doing? What do you think we could do differently together? Let's come up with some ideas together to resolve this so you feel connected and I feel honored and we both feel loved. And then that way there isn't a sense of she's rejecting me. No, she loves me. We're just resolving this together. And then you can each come up with different ideas. Maybe it's good that we talk for a longer time. Yeah, I way prefer talking, because then we can really go deeper, chatting like, hi, how is your day? And I don't really enjoy small talk. It doesn't work for me. I want deep conversation. I'd rather talk to you for an hour than have 50 texts in the week. So, yeah, that, how does that work, Stacey? That's the kind of thing of what it would look like. Okay, and Alexandra says she lets people trample on her boundaries and then she blow-ups. Yes, so for you, it would be learning what you need sooner. And I've shared before in a previous video that if you don't listen to the whispers when they're small, then they can become monsters. And it's just a matter of tuning into what you're feeling earlier on. So we do look at that in the BFF program, and I'll share more about that on Sunday and Monday. Okay, great. Let's have a look. So then there's complex boundary setting, which a lot of you experience. This is a persistent issue where somebody is toxic and they don't honor your boundaries and they will not care. First, you need to test their willingness to change, because some people don't realize that they're being toxic. They don't understand, because that's just how they've always been, and they always will be. And I'll give you an example from a client. She hasn't given me an alias, so I can't share this. I give her a name. Her father was quite critical, and every time he came to stay, he would just put her and her daughter down and criticize different things. And she didn't want to lose all contact with him, but she didn't want to see him at all because of the criticism. So I said, have you ever told him you don't like it? Oh no, I couldn't do that to my dad. You don't understand my dad. He's got anger issues. So we role played her practicing it to her dad. And Dad, I know that you love me. I really do. You wouldn't drive all this way to see me if you didn't love me. And I've got an issue that I'd love to resolve with you that I don't think you realize that you do it. And I bet you might be mortified if you realized it. But quite frequently, you criticize and put me down, and it really hurts. It makes me feel devastated. And then it makes me feel like I don't want to see you, and I don't want that. I want to be able to see you. I just don't want the criticism. And he said, I don't criticize you. And she said, well, she knew that would happen, so she had a list. And he said, I don't even realize I'm saying that. I'm just pointing out what you could do better. And she said, I don't want you doing that. I just want you to value me and appreciate me. And we had already practiced this. So she said, how about when you do that, I tell you a code word so you know that you're doing it and you can apologize and put it right. So I had said to her, use anything, apple, banana, a cloud in the sky. Aren't the clouds nice? So it's something that, or isn't a cloudy day, something that nobody else in the room would notice, the person being called out, but it lets them know, hey, this behavior is not okay. And so they did that. And when the dad did it, she would be able to go, oh, wow, it's sunny today, no clouds in the sky. And he would go, oh, yeah, okay, sorry. And she would know that he's got it. Now, majority of people who are toxic are not willing to do that. They're not willing to look at it. And it's also the approach that we have. If we're just attacking, they will just be defensive. If we come at them from a place of love and that they matter to us and we want a relationship with them, they're more likely to change. But when you can tell that if you have set a boundary and they constantly do it, I know for myself, I don't change overnight for anything. It's really hard to change overnight. So there is a little bit of flexibility sometimes when somebody is changing. But if it's somebody you don't want in your life, then you remember that 5-1 thing. If they are the ratio of 5 positives to negative, if you don't want them there, you can tell them 5 negative things and they won't want to be around you because they'll feel, oh, this is the end of the relationship. But if you do want them in your life, then you need to share. These are the things I love about you. And I'd like to work on this because I get really hurt and then I can't function. So you can test. Is it somebody who's willing to change? And then if it's not, then your choice is you can't fix anybody. That's the reality. So you can only offer them the potential to change. If they can't, then you have to ask yourself, do I want this person in my life or not? You don't have to be around people who behave toxically to you. It's really self-honoring to go, this is not what I want in my life. And it's everybody's choice is different. But I noticed for myself when my mother and her boyfriend put me down and rolled the eye, my mother's boyfriend used to roll his eyes when I talked and go, oh God, here she goes, because he was racist. And I would speak about racism and talk about to my kids the impact of colonialism and the impact of racism. And he would just go, oh God, why did they have to know about blacks? And I would be, well, because what white people have done to black people is not okay, and my children need to know our ancestors' history. And he would storm out and slam the door and, you don't have to listen to this, children. And I just said, I don't want my children to grow up around that. This is not what I want for them. It's not okay. And I went no contact because I said, I don't want my children to grow up thinking racism is okay. I don't want to grow up with him treating me like that and they learn that that's how to treat me. I'm not having it. It's not what I want for me. So I said, I'm going no contact. And then my mother said, we will change. We'll do anything we can. Let's all go to therapy. So I said, okay. My mother and her boyfriend and I went to therapy. And I said to the therapist, I've made a rule for myself. I want to only be around people who love me. So can you ask my mother's boyfriend if he loves me? And the therapist said, no, I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to play games. I said, there's no game here. I am learning to honor myself. And as a therapist, surely that's one of your jobs, is to teach people to honor themselves. So is like being around people who love me, is that not something that you want for me? She's like, yeah, okay, I can see. So she asked him, and he paused, similar to Justin Trudeau's 22-second pause when he was asked what he thought about Trump. And if you've seen that video, you find it hilarious of how he just sits there not knowing how to respond. And then finally, my mother's boyfriend said, well, I love her children. And I said, well, that's pretty clear then. I'm leaving. And she's like, you can't leave. And I said, no, I can. He's made it clear. And my mother said, no, that's not true. He does love you. And I was just laughing. I'm like, no, it's pretty clear he doesn't. If he did love me, he would say it. He clearly has the capacity to say I love you because he can say I love my children. It's just that he doesn't love me. So I'm not going to be around him. Bye. So for me, that was clear. I don't want to be around that. So you need to know for yourself what your deal breaker is of how you're going to be treated, of what you'll tolerate in life. And I can tell you for me, and it might not be true for everybody else, the first year or two was really hard. And I spent all the time going, everybody else has got family and I don't, and it's not fair. And I would just sob when I saw other people going out with friends and or with family, like Christmas and Easter, where everybody was meeting up with their family and I didn't have family. And so I got better at asking friends and sharing. I don't have family at Christmas. And I like Christmas with lots of people. And sometimes we didn't want Christmas with anybody and we'd have it on our own. And other times we had other people around or we went to other people. But now I don't hurt as much because I see the contrast of when I was in my mother's house, I felt uncomfortable all the time because of that judgment. And now to live in a home where I am loved, when I am treated with respect, where I'm cared for, it is so liberating. But it's everybody's personal journey. And I never insist on anybody going, you must leave that or have no contact. It's a very personal choice. But it's an essential choice for your own health and well-being. I found that for me. I used to get scream 15 times a day. And after setting that boundary, I stopped screaming. Before, I just thought that I have an anger management problem. But I realized that I was just showing my fury of how my mother treated me with such disregard. And as soon as I put the boundary on and I didn't have that treatment anymore, I wasn't an angry person because I couldn't express my anger and my boundaries to her. And so it was coming out to myself, to my kids, because she wouldn't hear me. And as soon as I put that boundary on, I wasn't getting triggered like that anymore because nobody around me was violating my boundaries like she was. And I'll give you an example. It was my grandmother's 90th birthday party. And we were all going to fly back. And I mentioned to you that my brother said that he had said he would never say sorry to me for how he bullied me. And I was on the phone to my mom and she said, I'm really sorry, but you can't come. Because if you come, then your brother won't. And we all really want to see him because it will be the last time that he'll see your grandmother. I said it would be the last time I'd see her and the last time my kids would see her. And she said, oh, well, I'm really sorry. I'm like, you're not sorry at all. You don't give a shit. I said, either you are a parent to both of us or you are just a parent to him. If you choose to be a parent to him, you are no longer my mother. It's your choice. And she said, oh, come on now. Don't be like that. I'm like, no, it's clear for me. And she said, but your anger is so unhealthy. And I said, no, my anger is appropriate and legitimate. And I won't tolerate being treated like this by my mother. So either you are a mother to two of us and you tell him that he needs to sort out his issues, or you're no longer my mother. That's your choice. She made her choice. I don't have any contact with her. All right. So there's an issue that often we get into, that I got into. So I want to warn you about this in a toxic environment, especially where it comes into family. I was meditating a lot, 5 to 8 hours a day. It was extreme. And when you're meditating like that, you feel a lot of states of bliss and love and presence and empathy and compassion. And what I got into was all this sort of new age stuff of just love, light, and bliss and be grateful and appreciate. And what it meant for me is the toxic behavior got worse because they knew that whatever they said, I would smile and I would focus on something to appreciate. I couldn't set the boundary because I didn't want the reaction And because I felt then that I wasn't being spiritual, that I wasn't turning the other cheek. And sometimes they even use that. If you're spiritual, you should just turn the other cheek. If you're so spiritual, you should just forgive what anybody ever does to you. And that's when I realized that forgiveness was getting in my way of my own healing. And what I really needed in place of forgiveness was boundaries. And I realized that this sort of spiritual bypass of what was underneath me with this love, light, and bliss was creating a fertile ground for me to be in toxic relationships with people who would take advantage of me and abuse me, because I am extremely loving, extremely kind, extremely generous. And so there were people who could suss that out, that I was just always nice and sweet. And I had to learn to go, anger is not unhealthy. Anger is healthy. And it says, no, I deserve better and I won't be treated like this. And when I went no contact and I said, I'm done, do you know what they did? They sent photocopies of all the letters that I'd sent that were all like in my bypassing state. There's like, after they, my dad had said to me, you ruined Zimbabwe. I was born in Zimbabwe and we left Zimbabwe when I was 3. And I said, Dad, I'm really confused. How did I ruin Zimbabwe? He said, I knew you wouldn't get it. I'm like, I'd like to get it. Explain to me how I ruined Zimbabwe when I was 3 years old. And he said, it's psychologists like you. I'm like, how did psychologists ruin Zimbabwe? And he said, because you cared for the blacks. And I was just like, wow. So that's why you've hated me all my life. Because I care for black people. It was dumbfounding. But at that point, I didn't have the strength, because I was in the spiritual bypass stage. I didn't have the strength to go, I just can't tolerate you. And so I wrote a letter thanking him for all the ways that he'd helped me in my life. And when I said, I'm done with your racism, I'm done with how you treat me, I'm done with everything, and I don't want you in my life at all. That's what he sent me. He copied all the letters, and he's like, I prefer this one. I prefer this person. I don't like who you are now. I want that one back. I'm like, that one was toxic. That one was in a spiritually bypassing toxic state that denied her own feelings. And here's why that is wrong. When you deny the toxicity around you, it goes into your body and manifests as disease. So for that period that I was spiritually bypassing, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. And it was only when I went, I'm done with this toxic behavior, that I started to get my energy back, because I was repressing all these feelings of rage, of hurt, of shame, instead of just going, I'm not getting treated like this. This is not okay. And the one book that is really beautiful, if that's something you do, is Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No. And he talks about toxic families where people will use people and not honor them, and how they have immune dysfunction, disability, how nice people he says that studies have shown that cancer is the nice person's disease. If you're just nice to everyone, your body finally just, all that you're feeling just eats in yourself, and heart disease. So there is a risk in not setting boundaries with toxic people, is that you get ill from allowing it to happen. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a life where you are thriving and filled with well-being and goodness so that you can thrive. And so in setting a boundary with toxic people, there has to be such clarity of saying, this is what I need, and are you willing to change to do this? And I did that with my mum, and I said, I'm not willing to have you around. And what was fascinating for me in putting a limit on her is that the following week, my kids went to school and my daughter said, I'm not playing with the mean girls anymore. And a little girl came to me in my son's class and said, do you know what? La went up to X-boy's name and said that he knows why he is unkind to people. It's because that he's jealous of anybody who plays with him, and he doesn't want to be friends with somebody who's a bully. And the mother said, you can tell whose child is the child of a therapist, huh? Because most children wouldn't see that projection. But within 1 week, that was 1 week later of me saying to my mum, none of us are seeing you anymore, that they stopped being around mean people themselves. So when you rise up and say that you have self-esteem to be treated well and set a boundary on allowing anybody toxic into your life, your kids don't learn from what you say. Like when I was saying to my daughter, those girls are really mean to you. They don't honor you. Don't play with them. She would just smile like, oh, Mom, you don't know anything. The same look that my mother's boyfriend would give me of, oh, God, you don't know anything. And the moment that I said, no, I do know something, and I do know that I deserve better treatment, and I'm not going to tolerate this, they both did it. And it takes rising up in yourself, instead of repressing the anger, is listening to that voice that is angry and going, hello. And it might feel pretty explosive. It was for me, really explosive. But because I couldn't speak it, I kept doing things that would hurt myself. Like sometimes 5 times in the day, I would stub my toe, hit my head, like I wouldn't close the cabinets. And it was such a representation of the toxic stuff that was going on. And I would whack my head, like getting stuff out the dishwasher. Then I would open the cupboard again to put something else in, and I did it again. Sometimes one day, 5 times I did that to my head. And my head was just like a big bump. And it was just like, God, the universe is trying to show me that I'm leaving myself open to people hurting me because I'm not saying no. I'm not closing the door on toxic relationships. And as soon as I did that, I stopped hurting myself. I stopped tripping into things. I stopped bashing my head. It was unbelievable. And so now I know that if like something's bashing, it's often an indication that there's something going on in the world that's toxic and not honoring me, and my body is trying to wake me up to it. So really tune into your body and allow your body to speak its wisdom. Allow it to communicate with you instead of forcing it to do the work that you aren't prepared to do because you won't say no. You deserve better. And with people who truly love you enough to learn the healthy behaviors, they will. And it's not personal to you if they don't. It's their own incapacity to do so. All right. So let's just see. Have I got to the end? Oh, story of Julia. This just seems so contrasting to what I was talking about. But one funny thing that Julia used to do is she used to take us in the Restore group, in the membership, and in the program. What's in the BFF program? I do these every second week. I do. I'm just thinking today that I'm changing the name to them, but Love and Action. We did call them Get Stuff Done sessions, but we realized that it's all really about loving ourselves as we take action. So I think I'm going to change the name of them to Love and Action. What do you guys think? And she used to with her horrible boss around, she'd put her earphones on, and then she would do these action things where we don't meet for half an hour and then we'll go off and do action for an hour and learn how to treat ourselves as we take action and then come back and share how it went. But she often used to sit anywhere with headphones on to zone everybody out so that it would make everybody know that she's working to the organization because she's focused with her headphones on. And that was one way of her showing in her actions that what her boundaries were. All right, so let me go to these questions and see. Let's just see if that's the end. Oh, okay. What I would like you to do, if you would like, you could win, like I've just been talking about, a place in the BFF program where we have weekly group sessions to weave love into you. So any blocks that you have, you can come to me and I will share with you ideas and empathize with you and help you to break through to the other side of whatever the issue is. And we also have these community sessions that I was just talking about, the love and action sessions, where you learn how to treat yourself with love, whatever you're doing. And then we've got a video library of meditations, practices, ways to grow your psyche. So things inside of yourself like protection, so that you're more able to, oh no, that doesn't, let's just see if I can turn off the banner so you can see the link. Don't know how, okay, let's do that. There we go. So now you can see the link to it. So there's the link, and you'll be able to see all the 3 different workshops that we've done. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see workshop 1, workshop 2, workshop 3. And if you go and write what insight you've taken away from each of those, you'll be able to be entered into the contest and win an 8-week program. It's a beautiful way to join a self-healing family that are all working on growing secure, attached, proactive, constructive love. It's my favorite place in the internet. It's such a loving space to be. All right, so, and then we've got love work. Shall I do this first and then come back to questions? I think I'll just quickly do this. All right, so what I want you to look at is that right? Have I done the right thing? No. Okay, so there's a love tank. In order to give in a healthy way to other people, we have to not people please them and always think of them. We need to give from overflow. So you can think of like in the tank, like your torso is a tank. And you can feel into yourself now, how full is your love tank? Just take a breath and see how full it is. And if it's really empty and somebody asks you to do something, if you say yes then, you're probably going to be grouchy and not happy, and you might get angry or resent them. But if you're full up, it's really easy to do things because you're feeling fabulous. So what I want you to do for your love work today is to look at what fills up your love tank, what makes it leak. So what are the people or the things or the situations that drain it, that really make it, or it might be types of conversations or that drain it and make it just sink out. And then what are the plugs? So boundaries might be one, walking away. What is the thing that will plug this in? So it might be setting a boundary on when somebody texts you. It might be, so that's a plug. Like, I'm not going to have that leak in my love tank anymore. So I would like you to draw a love tank and write in the love tank the things that fill it, and then see what are the things that leak the love and what are the plugs for each of your leaks. That's quite a fun homework. I think it's fun. And then the other homework, I want you to stand in front of the mirror or walk around a room if you don't want to look in a mirror and say no. And I just want you to feel what it feels like to walk around and say no to yourself. when I was in a relationship, and obviously I hadn't got over being a doormat yet, and I went to the therapist, and she said, get up and walk around the room, and I want you to go, no, 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 no. And she made me do that for an hour, and I cried the whole hour. And then the following week I arrived, and she said, there's no need to sit down. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, you know what to do. She just wanted me to get no into my body, because I was in that big spiritual bypass, love, gratitude, let's just be nice. I couldn't go, no, fuck off. That's not okay. And I had to learn, no, this is my line. I won't be treated like this. So I want you to embody that no and see how is it to say no? And I want you to come and share. And I will put those two, I'll make, when I get off this call, I'll make 2 posts for that and put it into the unit, to the Become Your Own Best Friend unit. All right. Right, Q&A, got questions. I am going to turn this off. And those are just my notes. And I'm going to come and close this down, and then I can see your, why is this not working? Okay, let me go back to that and stop the screen share, and then I can see. Okay, where are we up to? Okay. Oh yes, ignoring red flags. It's really important. And you know, you can't just Google what are the red flags. Love bombing is one. If somebody dismisses how you feel when you first tell them how you feel, that's another. If they just talk about themselves and they don't inquire into you, if they buy you things, or if they text a lot and then when you don't reply, then they ignore you or shame you. There's so many red flags that are really important to pick up, that when the moment that you see them, you can go, like I'll give you an example of a friend of mine was very bored in her marriage. So she decided that I should date because I was single. And so she did all the work. She created a page. She chose the men. It was hilarious. And so she got me on a date with one guy, and it was before the date. I hadn't even met him yet. And he said, I'll text you, I'll call you at, I don't know what time he said, 3 or something. And I said, great, okay, that works, because I'll be fetching my kids at 3:30, so I'll have half an hour to chat. And he called at 5:30. And I said, oh, hi, that's strike 1. He's like, what do you mean? I said, oh, I play the game of 3 strikes. He's like, about what? I said, oh, I like to be in a relationship with people who are their word. And so you said you'd call at 3. You didn't text or message to let me know you weren't. And then you called at 5:30. So you didn't show integrity. So that's strike 1. And if you do it 3 times, I won't see you again. And he's like, you're weird. I'm like, no. I just like to be in a relationship with somebody who's got integrity. So he did it again. And I asked her, went, oh, hi, how are you? Just so you know, that was strike 2. And then he did it once more. And I'm going, hi, no need to call again. That was strike 3. Have a good life. So I won't tolerate that. It's not what I want in my life. Okay. So Sana said, I've had people who've trampled on me and I don't want them in my life, but I can't cut them off. So Sana, I would look at that. I would look at that voice inside that says I can't cut them off, and explore that voice. Go, wow, you can't cut them off. Because I had that voice too. It took me years to do that. And it was like, what is it about that voice that goes, I can't do this? And then listen. Because it's a scared little voice. Like, what is it scared of that might happen? Is it scared of rejection? Is it scared of being alone? Is it scared of not having them? What do they give you? Or is it feeling like you don't deserve anything better? Is it feeling that's what you deserve to be treated like? And so whatever the answer is from that point, I don't know because I haven't spoken to you about this issue. But whatever the issue is, when you know what that voice, why that voice won't let you cut them off, then you can go, so what are the skills that I need to help this part of me? Like if it's a self-worth issue, then you know you need to work on your self-worth and grow your confidence and know who you are to really stand into yourself. Like if I'm in a state where I don't have a lot of friends, and then I'll tolerate more shit from them because I'm scared to lose them because I've got so little. But as I grow in my worth and I have more friends and I'm feeling great about myself, if somebody treats me badly, I'm just like, hey, listen, I don't tolerate being treated like that. So it's really clear. And I'm not worried about losing that because I really want to be around. I know how essential it is to treat myself well for my whole well-being, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. It's essential that I'm around people who treat me well. Janet, my mother was so in denial. Yeah. Her boyfriend totally didn't. So when I did cut them off completely, he wrote a letter going, okay, I do love you and I'd like to paint you a picture. And I said, I don't want your paintings in my house. Ekayaita, it's been hard. That's the big sigh, is it's been tiring, if I'm honest. It would have been so much easier just to be born into love and ease, wouldn't it? But had I had it easy, I wouldn't be here tonight supporting other people. So even though there's a big sigh, there's also a huge amount of, relief that I've got through that. And I feel like I'm on the other side. So Sana says, how do you teach your kids to be loving and when not to be forgiving? I'm so scared for my daughter. She's so loving and kind, and I fear it opens more toxic behavior. Sana, can you guess what's coming? You've got to show her that you won't be around people who treat you badly. And I know that's hard. You've just said that's hard for you. But they don't learn through us just telling them what to do. They learn through watching us. They learn through seeing us. That if we tolerate and just keep forgiving without going, hey, I notice, you can say that. Hey, I notice in this relationship, this happens, I forgive, this happens, I forgive, this happens. That's not a very good, healthy dynamic between us. This dynamic, we need to look at this. Because I think I'm being a bit of a doormat here, and that's not healthy. Then you don't have any respect for me. And I think that you're crossing my boundaries, and then I feel resentful, and I don't like feeling like that to you. So can we look at this and resolve this and find a better way of relating? And if they say no, then it's like, oh, well, that's clear. I can't be around this then because I need to be in a nourishing, mutual, reciprocal relationship. Okay. Laura, how do you set up a boundary with somebody who's been completely out of order? Her friend who jokingly calls you insulting name and undermines you with your child. I mean, when it's not something that you can work together because there's no possible compromise, you just need their behavior to stop. You can't change anyone. You can't fix anyone. That's who they are. So you have a choice. Do I want them around or not? If you say to them, this is a matter for me of, I'll give you an example. There's somebody in my community who's being really dismissive and negating of people's experience. And she posted on my wall, and I wrote, don't ever write on my wall again. And she told people that I was mean, and people told me. And I said, no, I was just setting a boundary. It's not being mean. I just don't like her emotional abuse. She's dismissive and negating and speaks at me rather than with me. And I don't like being spoken to. I love her deeply. And in a few years, she would have got out of this pattern. But at the moment, I don't want her messaging me and I don't want her writing on my wall. And that's that. So she's not writing on my wall. But that's, I love her dearly. Absolutely love her. I'm not going to be treated like that. And that's subtle. That's not her insulting me. So I don't know if you were there, Laura, when I spoke about proactive destructive, passive destructive, passive constructive, and proactive constructive. And that's in one of the previous videos. And it's in the self-worth video. It's right near the front. So you could watch that and you'll hear the difference between those. And no, you only deserve to be around. He's being abusive. He's being proactively destructive. And so if you want abuse, hang out. But you're so lovely. You don't deserve abuse at all. Really. So, my brothers used to be insulting and racist. And I would just go, on what planet do you think that that's acceptable? That's just so insulting and rude. There's just no toleration for me with it. And my older brother used to make jokes and go, you just can't take a joke. And I said, no, that's racism. That's not a joke. It's not okay. And so they would just insult me then and call me names. And I just said, well, I'm not going to be around that. I deserve better. I'm not going to be treated like that. So it depends what you have to raise your self-worth to go, I don't deserve this. Because nobody will change unless they want to. And sometimes when you say, well, this is a deal breaker, either you treat me with respect and accept how I parent, or you're not in my life. That's for me what I would do, because I won't be around that. And I won't be around people who treat other people like that. So there was a guy in our village who we were having a big picnic. There were like 30 people, and his son had hit a girl. And the mom came over and shared it with us. So the boy's mom got up and went to go and speak to the son. The dad shouted to the son, run, run, your mom's coming to get you. And I was like, what? Your son just hit some, and you're telling him to run away rather than take responsibility. So I was like, in front of everybody, there were like 30 of us, 20 of us, 30 all around, but the folks sitting down. And I said, sorry, in your childhood, is this what you used to do? And he laughed and said, yeah, I used to pinch my brother and get him really riled, and then he would react and I would scream so that he would get into trouble, and then I'd just sit and laugh at watching him getting beaten. And I said, you do realize that's abusive? And I'm really sorry, I can't bring my kids to a picnic where there's an abusive man showing my son that that's how you treat a woman. And so in front of everybody, I just said, I'm really sorry, I need to leave. And he just said, oh, you've got issues if you don't find that funny. And I said, no, you've got issues if you think emotional abuse is funny. It's toxic, and your wife deserves better. And I can't be around this. And I got up and left, and I never went back. I won't tolerate it. I won't tolerate anybody being abusive. Yes, Gabor Mate is amazing. Okay. Love and action. Love and action's quite lovely too, Stacey. Like the pink hair. Oh, was it a picture that oh yes, okay. I'm glad you like pink hair. Loads of love, Stacey. Okay, where are we up to? Great. I'm excited to see your love tanks. All right. Alexandra said, I'm the same. I hold on to people and losing aspects of a person I love, even though they're toxic. And I like that. So I've learned too that there's some people, like I've got one friend who can be toxic at some times, that he only, how he's toxic is that he often will only talk about himself and he has no interest in my life. And for a while, I tried to desperately get him to love and be interested in me. And then I just figured he's not interested in therapy. He's not interested in facing trauma. But he's a fascinating human being. And so I didn't want him out of my life. He wasn't insulting. He wasn't rude. He was just like passively constructive because he just wasn't interested in what I had to say. And I just decided I would stay in touch because somehow he's proactively constructive with my kids, but not with me. But what he writes to me is fascinating. And there are few people with his mind in the world. So I just decided, instead of getting upset that he can't ever meet my needs, once or twice a year, I'm curious to hear how he is, because he's just fascinating. And he sends the most unusual articles that I would never have come across. And my kids, if there's something going on with them, they'll say, can you message him and ask him? Because he always has just the way his mind, I've never met anybody with a mind like that. And I had a dream about him 7 years before I met him. And when I saw him, I knew his name from the dream that I'd had before. So it was amazing. No, it's 7 years now ago, but it was 2 years before I met him. I met him about 5 years ago. And it was just so, his mind is so fascinating. So I can accept that while he won't ever be like, call me up, hey, I've got a feeling that I want to talk to you, I enjoy his mind. So I accept this guy with me is passively constructive. And so I know in my intention in being in the relationship, I can't get met that way from him. But other friends, I'm pretty sure I speak more than they do. And so it kind of balances out in the world. There's one friend who likes listening, and she doesn't necessarily like talking as much. So I probably talk to her more than she talks to me. Even though I try to get her to talk, she doesn't talk quite as much. So, but when they are proactively destructive, there's no way I want my kids to see that. And what my kids see from this guy, like my son was doing some homework and he said, can't you message and ask him if I can send my homework to him? And I was like, sure. And he said, of course. And my son gets like pages back from him, even though he's in the middle of a lot of business that's going on at the moment and is hectic. He made hours on a Sunday night where my son's homework was due on the Monday. So my son had left it to the last minute and he still just completely. So I figure that he's great for my kids and he's great for my mind, but not great for my emotions. And I accept that. So some people are complex. Okay. I see red flags a mile off. And then I decide to focus on the nice parts and then the reasons and find reasons for the red flag. And I excuse them. Oh, bless. But that's a step in the right direction, that you know that they're there. But then there's that self-worth underneath, hey, that goes, I'm so desperate for love, I'll just accept the excuses. And you are worth so much more. You're a beautiful soul and you deserve to be loved and honored and respected. Oh no, I never felt disloyal to my family. I have no tolerance. All the way through my life, I felt this just an aberration towards the racism. I just used to get completely disgusted and wish that I was born into another family. And there hasn't been a sense of like guilt about not being like, that's just abhorrent to be like that. So I don't feel the sense of guilt. The only thing is that my mom said, please don't ever share what I did to you, because I don't want people to know while I'm alive. So after I'm dead, you can write your book. So one day I realized that that was abuse too, because that was silencing. And I wrote the whole book, 60,000 words. And the day that I finished the book, the computer broke and I lost it all. And I just took that as a sign that I'm not going to write about her with my name. And I changed my name so that when I write about her, like, people won't link my new name with her. So there's more kind of like, I understand that you are messed up for whatever reason, and I don't want to be vindictive or horrible to you. I'm not sharing their stories so that, or the stories about them in my life so that people hate them. I'm sharing the stories so that people know they can overcome that too. I don't have a sense of hate for any of them. I don't want them in my life. I have no desire at all to have them near me. I know that I don't thrive around them. The last time I saw them, I think, was 11 years ago, and it took me a year to get over it. I was like a shell of a human being after I came back from seeing them. And I just know it's not healthy for me. Every time I become somebody I don't like, I become angry, upset, because there's so many microaggressions. There's sort of sexism and racism of the sort of, South African male that I just find intolerable, and they don't see an issue with it. So there isn't a sense that I don't feel disloyal to them speaking about it. And I one day expect that they will write an art, like when I've written a book, I expect they'll write an article about it to say it's all not true and we had good, lovely times. And, I'm sure that's how they'll do that one day, and that's their choice. I'm not saying anything about them because I want to turn anybody against them. They must live their lives and be happy. I just don't want to be around them. All right. So I hope that answers you, Ekayat. All right. And then Alexandra says, I find things I like with active, destructive people. Phew, that's hard work. That's really hard work. And it's really hard when you're in that situation around a lot of people like that. And often you have to be a lot harder than you want to be to protect yourself and stay calm. So, so that's boundaries, people. Are there any other questions around boundaries? I could share this link quickly again. So for people who want to, I missed that last one. So let me just share the screen so that you get the links for the thing. There we go. So if you've got questions, you can go there. Oh no, this should be changed. I'm going to delete that quickly because but Saturday, these two links are right. It's just that link that's wrong. I can quickly find it. Oh, let me stretch over. I will quickly, I need to look at the schedule and see what that link is. So let me tell you what's coming next. And while I'm telling you what's coming next, if anybody has questions, you can ask now. Let me see what the link is called. Oh, C1 for catch-up call 1. So if you have a question now, the next question time that we have, it's there. C1 is the next place. The Saturday, these two are the next times that we are meeting. So Saturday, tomorrow afternoon. If you want to ask a question in a private space for me to answer on Saturday afternoon, if you're watching the replay, then you can just ask them in the questions place. If you're happy for it to be in a public space, you can look at, no, this is wrong. C1, sorry, this is C1 and that's C2. That's for Sunday. So those two, I'm having catch-up sessions. So if you are just arriving and going, oh my God, I've missed everything, I'm going to do catch-up sessions where I'm going to summarize everything really. I'm not very fast, but I'm going to try hard to do it really fast. And then, so to remind you, your homework is to do a love tank. What fills you up with love? What are the things that leak out the love? And what are the things you can do to close the leaks, plug them up? And then walk around saying no. No, stomp your feet. No, and then come and share how that works. Practice 5-2 with yourself. So 5 positives to 1 negative. Test. Notice in the day, how many times are you being negative? How many times are you being kind to yourself? And then come and join the contest so that you might win. Oh, yes, and you can share what insight you got privately at this page. So, any other questions? Let's see. Okay. That's 5 p.m. Yes, let me go back there. It's 5 p.m. UK time, noon Eastern, which is what, 9 Pacific on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it's 9 a.m. UK, 6 p.m. Sydney, 8 p.m. Auckland. So that way, people in Australia and in America both get a call. And then on Sunday night is the Self-Love Masterclass, and I've been working on that all day today. And that's going to be so much fun. And I'm going to be taking little quotes to celebrate you, little screenshots of things that people have said of what they've won. So I want you to share in the group, in the post that I made. I sent an email saying, what is your wins? I want to see your wins. And then we're going to share, if you're wanting support, what's next. And I'm also going to do a masterclass on kind of putting this all together and what it takes to overcome. So the stuff happened in the past. What are the skills? So somebody asked me, but I know things are wrong, but I don't know what the skills are that I need to shift. We're going to share what those skills are and then how it would impact you. So come along to that. That is Sunday night let me test. Sunday at 7 p.m. on Sunday night UK time, which is fine for 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 Pacific, or I will do it again on Monday for the Australians, and that's at 10 a.m. Or early birds, 5 a.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. in Sydney. So it looks like that's it, lovely people. I'm really sorry for the weird and wacky start. That's a bit frustrating for everybody, but I'm really grateful that you hung in there. Thanks for hanging out with me. I want to hear one thing. Share, you can either share, I'd love you to share in the, what's the name? Where is it? The thing, it's gone off here. Or is it in the next page? There, in the contest. Go and share in the contest. What is your insight? What are you taking away? Or in the private space, W3S, which is the Workshop 3 sharing space. So, absolute pleasure, Lucy. Nice to see all your faces, and it's lovely to hang out with you. And I'm sending you so much love, and I want to hear how you are saying no to things that don't serve you. Because here's the deal. When you're saying no to those things, you start to say yes to you, and then you come alive. You know, when I was around my family and staying in these toxic situations, I had no energy and I was tired and reactive and angry and hurting. And now I can go days without, but then it was just every day I was triggered because they were just violating my boundaries all the time with insults or rudeness or something. And I just feel life feels so much better. So now I can say yes to me because I've got the energy to say yes. Then I was just coping with all the microaggressions. So really know you are worthy and deserving of love and goodness. And that's all I ever want for you. So I'm sending you all love. Love to you, Ruth and Lucy and Sana and Ekayite. Am I saying that right, Ekayite? Can you tell me? I want to make sure I'm getting it right for you. Okay, everyone. Blessings and goodness to you, and come and share what you got out of it. And we will see you in the catch-up session tomorrow. I hope that I'll get some sleep tonight so that my brain is working a bit better tomorrow. All right, sending you love. Bye, Rosemary. And hope that you get lots of energy and love for the good things for you. All right, let me turn this off now. How do I do that? There we go. All right, love to you, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you either in the catch-up sessions or the masterclass on Sunday and Monday. Bye.